Okay, in the last session we had a brief introduction about variables, how to read a variable, how to print a variable. Now we will expand on this topic of variables. We also found out how to set variables, and we will look at slightly different examples. So, one of the things that we mentioned is that you can declare any variable, okay, in shell at any point in time. I mean, you do not have to tell what is the data type, etc. So, here is one example. So, shell variables can be used to store temporary values, and that is what we have been doing in the previous example. So, here is a line which says that files is equal to, within double quotes you have notes.txt and report.txt, and if you remember, I told you that whenever you assign a variable a value, then the whole thing goes as a string. So, in this case, if you try to print this files, okay, it will actually print it as note.txt and report.txt. So, let us see that as an example here. So, let us say I type files is equal to notes.txt and reports.txt. Now, if I echo this, you see that it just prints whatever we had given. So, that is what I have been telling, that it interprets it as a string. Now, and we have printed it, and we found out that how it works. Okay. So, one of the things is you have variables which are called environmental variables. Okay. So, one example I think we saw in the last session was that we had talked about a variable called $pwd, that is the present working directory. Okay. So, if the environmental variables are something like this, say for example, in this room I am dissociated from what is happening outside this room. So, this becomes my environment. So, in any shell script, when you are running your program, okay, you have to run it with a constrained space or an environment, and this space provides certain variables which you can use. One of the variables we saw was, suppose the shell wants to know who is running this program. Okay. So, it can echo $log name. Similarly, the shell wants to know in currently it is in which directory. So, for example, let us try. So, suppose the shell, now this is the shell, and this shell wants to know which directly it is in currently, because if you remember, there is no interaction that happens when you run the shell. So, I can do that, I can do echo $pwd, and it tells you that currently this shell is, I am here in this shell, in this place. Okay. So, suppose I want to find out what is my name as last time. Okay. So, it says that my name is MJS Raman. So, if I type a command called env, it tells you, and you can see that in this env, look at this variable pwd, this is what we saw. Then I can also look at, okay, I can run the environmental command and then grep for log name. So, if you get for log name, it prints MJS Raman. So, if you look at this, these are the environmental variables, and there are lot many of them. I mean, you have to you can have one session interpreting what all these things are. Okay. But anyhow, we will take some of those things that are important to us. So, here is an example. So, if you look at this, it says the language is English and then Indian English. Okay. So, such things. So, what is my home directory? It gives, if you type echo $home, you will get it, and so on. So, these are all the environmental variables that you have in your machine. Okay. Now, so, the shell variables are private to the shell, that is, if you run two shells, then the second shell does not know about the variables that are present in the first shell, unless you can export the variable to the environment, and the other shell takes that environment. Okay. So, these environmental variables are passed to programs run from the shell. So, the reason why, so I can even make a private shell variable, and then I can export it to the environment, so that any program that runs in that shell can take this private variable. Okay. So, let us take a look at this example. So, if you look at this, we had this files is equal to notes.txt and space report.txt, and when I say export files, what it does is this file variable goes and sits as an environmental variable. So, let us demonstrate it with an example to understand this. So, if you look at this echo dollar $files, so the value is here. Now, suppose I put environmental command and then search for files, it is not there, correct. So, now what I will do is I will do an export. Okay. So, if you look at this command, it says export files or export files is equal, there are two syntaxes that are available. Since we have already assigned the value, we will use this syntax. Okay. So, we will do export files. Okay. Now, let me run this command. So, you see that a variable that was local to the shell actually has got exported as an environmental variable. So, what happens is that if I run a program, so this is useful. Suppose I am running 4 or 5 programs and I want to initialize certain variables and then pass it to the new programs, this is one way of doing it. Okay. So, you can set the variables and then export it for other export it to the environment, so that other commands can use that variable. Okay. Now, there are few system variables that are there. So, okay, for example, home is the home directory, I think we have seen it, and then path is the directories that are to be searched for any executable code. This is very important because when you are installing lot of programs, okay, most of the time what happens is that you do not put the path where the binary files are, and so even though the binary files will be there in that particular directory, you will get an error saying that file not found, and you will be wondering what, and finally they will say that set the path variable. So, let us take so let us spend some time on this. So, if you look, because this is very important variable that you should understand. So, echo paths, for example, in this case is in my machine, if the binaries are found in any of these paths, then it will automatically execute. Okay. If the binaries are not found in any of this path, then it will not execute. Okay. Not only binaries, any executable file. If you, so this is one of the very important variables that you have. Okay. You will be quite often using it in basically shell scripts are sometimes used for installation of programs, and once you install the program, you have to set this path variable, otherwise your binaries will you cannot identify, and the program might give some errors, okay, since the binary files are not there. Then PS1 is for prompt of interactive shells. I mean, what this mean is, okay, so if you look at this, when I am trying this, I have this, I mean this is the PS1 variable. So, if you look at this, my PS1 variable can interpret like this, and finally this is the command point, I mean where I take the commands. So, if I have another shell, okay, so if you see that my PS1 variable has changed. So, echo, if I say echo PS1, then it has become a dollar. Now, I have now having a shell within a shell. Okay. So, probably you can export PS1 and then see what happens. Okay, that you can take it as an exercise. So, now coming back, now there is another variable called PS2, which actually for example, it expects some command to be given. Okay. So, something like this, let us give something like this, then this is the PS2 variable. What it says is that I am expecting some more correct commands from you, that is what it says. Okay. So, once I type the correct, it says still your command is not completed. So, let us say I put sleep 1 and then I do a done. So, now it says okay fine, it hangs. So, what is the reason it is hanging? Any idea? Okay. So, I am coming out of this, we will see that why it does all this. Okay. So, the idea here is to show you that if I have something more to be done, okay, then you get this prompt, you know, the greater than prompt, and that is what is given by PS2, prompt for multi-line command. So, I have typed the command in one line, that command has not ended, therefore, the shell is expecting more and more commands, and therefore, it is giving like this. Okay, and we already saw what a shell is. So, let us take a look at this file called files.sh, and then we will take a look at how we can get all these concepts together. So, here is the first line of the code. So, what it does is, if you remember, I had executed this and shown you that it works. Okay. Then the fifth line is a comment, okay, and then I have something like echo dollar underscore echo dollar path dollar ps1 and dollar ps2. I think we know all this. Echo dollar path will give you what all the path for the executables, and let us see what this echo dollar underscore says, because this is something new, and as I told you, there are a lot of funny characters that come in shell programming. So, this is one such character. Okay. So, let us look at what it does. Okay. So, let us just try to do echo dollar underscore. Okay. So, it says files.sh. Now, what is it? Okay, take this as an exercise and find out what this echo dollar underscore means. Okay. So, let us go and find out files.sh. Okay. And then you have echo dollar path, echo dollar ps1, echo dollar ps2. So, these are some of the environmental variables that you have. Okay. Let us move on to what are the other kinds of variables. Okay. We saw the environmental variables and the system variables which can be exported, etc. Now, moving on, okay, we also have something known as shell variable. Okay. This is very important. Okay. The reason why this is important is, many of the times it say, for example, in C programming language you have something how to read arguments from the user from a program. Okay. So, for example, input arguments, we know how to print, but I told you that you can't be expecting the user to send you all the data. It cannot be an interactive program. So, if it is not an interactive program, what happens is the user has to type in the command line whatever values he wants to pass. Now, how do you interpret those values? Okay. So, for that the shell provides some built-in variables. So, let us look at some of these built-in variables. So, if you put dollar dollar, then it tells you that what is the process number of the current process. I mean, I hope you are very familiar now with what is process number. See, process ID is something unique to every process that is running in the operating system. So, if you want to know what is the process ID of the current process, I can use this dollar dollar command. So, if you look at this, if you I can even type it like this. So, if I put echo dollar dollar, so it shows 15207, which is the process ID of the current shell that it is running. Okay. Now, let us go back and then see. So, next I have dollar bang. Okay. So, this tells you the process number of the last background process. So, you know clearly that you can run a process in a foreground or a background, and so if you want to know the background process number, you can use this. Now, the third one is very important. Now, this tells you whether your previously executed command is successful or not. See, Unix has a convention that if your return value is 0, then the previous program has executed successfully. Any other value other than 0, then your program has not executed successfully. So, this you can identify. I mean, as I told you, shell scripting allows you to take decisions based on whether a command has run successfully or not. So, to take that decision, this will be very useful. We will see the usage of this. And dollar hash tells you the number of command line arguments. So, let us take a look at this. If you look at this, let us go to the files.sh. Okay. So, if you look at this, as I told you, you can have a current process ID, you can have a current. So, if you say dollar hash, okay, it tells you the number of command line parameters. Okay. So, let us, and if you look at the other option, okay, we will first go through all the options and then we will come back. Then if you say $0, then it gives you the command or the program name. It is essentially the very first word that you type after the prompt. I mean, the dollar is called as the prompt. In the shell script we had that prompt, PS1 is the prompt. Okay. And dollar star gives all command line arguments, and dollar n gives the positional parameter. Let me demonstrate it with a small program so that you understand this. Okay. So, if you look at this program, the first part of it we all saw how to, I will make a copy of this program and then we will So, I can just make it as say new files dot sh. I will take new files dot sh and then I will remove this part, because we are quite well understand the PS1 and other kind of shell variables. Okay. What we will now do is we will now try to run this program. So, let us look at this in line number 2. I can see what is the current process ID. In line number 5, okay, it will print what is the current command, okay, that is being executed. In line number 6 and 7, it tells you what are the current parameters, okay. And if you want to know whether this line has executed correctly, then I have to do a echo dollar. So, if it is echo dollar question mark becomes 0, then the previous program has executed correctly. Okay. So, for example, here I am making a deliberate mistake, if you see this. So, because I am making a deliberate mistake, I expect that this value should not be 0, whatever is getting printed should not be 0, and so I am printing echo no. And then if I want to know how many parameters I am passing to this program, then I can put $# and I can just say what is the third parameter that I am passing. So, let me just run this program and show you, demonstrate. So, if you look at this program, the way I have to run it is I can say new files dot sh and then I can give some parameters 1, 2, 3, 4, etc., 5, 6, etc. Now, so what I have typed is sh new files, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, look at this, the first current process ID is 18044, which is cool. Okay. Now, coming back, it says current command line. So, let us look at the code. What is the current command line that it is printing? So, if you look at new files current is $0. So, if you look at $0, what it prints is the new files.sh. So, this is considered to be $0. The current command that you are running is considered to be the 0, this is known as the positional parameter. Okay. And then what are all the current parameters? Okay. So, since this becomes the file name, then whatever you are passing after this becomes the parameter for this file. So, what happens here is what are the current parameters you are passing is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So, how do I print it? So, if you look at this file, I print it via $. Okay. So, when I put echo $, it prints 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Now, what I will do is now I am trying to see whether did the previous program execute correctly. I mean, this is just a question. So, this echo should, if it is printed correctly, then this should pass. So, let us see whether it has got printed correctly. Yes, it has got printed correctly and the program returned correctly, therefore, it is printing a value of 0. Then and again I am printing yes. Okay. Now, let us come to this line. Look at this, I typed hi and hi is not a command in Unix. Therefore, what it says is the command not found, and look at the return value. I actually typed echo $? And if you see this, it returned a value of 127, which is not 0. Please understand that this is one of the reasons in C programming language they say that if you do anything correctly, return a 0. Okay. So, if you look at this, so 127, as I told you, any value greater than 0 tells you that the previous command did not execute correctly. So, here the hi command was not found, therefore, the shell did not execute this correctly, therefore, it returned a value of 127, and then therefore, I have printed no. Then how many parameters? Okay. So, here if you look at this, if I want to know how many parameters, then I am putting $#. Okay. This tells you the total number of parameters that are passed for this program. Okay. So, if you are very familiar with C programming language, you have int argc and then argv. Okay. So, the argc actually tells you how many parameters are getting passed. So, in this case you can do a $# and find out how many parameters are getting passed, and then I can find out the particular parameter by giving a $, and the number after this. So, in our case 1, 2 and 3. So, essentially we will be seeing that 3, the value THREE will be printed in the last line. So, look at this. So, the value THREE is getting printed. Okay. So, this gives you briefly. So, these are all the few shell variables, these are very important. Okay. When you are writing shell scripts, you will be using them quite a lot. So, tried some exercises and try to get control of what these variables actually mean. So, with this we come to the end of this session, and we will continue with sequencing and other flows from the next session onwards. Thank you.